Just imagine, waking up on Christmas morning, excited for the day ahead, with no clue that your life is about to change in a way you could never imagine. This is Shawna Ristic's story, a young woman heading to a football game when her day took a shocking turn. What happened next was life-changing. Her near-death experience will make you think, feel, and start to question everything you thought you knew about life and death. Here's a short audio clip of Shawna explaining the moment her accident happened. You'll want to stay until the end to hear what she experienced. It's unforgettable.
I needed to call my friend and tell him I was on my way, and I bent over, I took off my seatbelt, and I bent over to pick up my car phone. When I came up, I came close to hitting a car that I was passing, and I'd just gone over a bridge, and so I swerved to miss, and my car flipped end over end across the median, then across the other lane of traffic, 2 lanes of traffic, and they found me face down about 40 feet from the car, turning blue. I don't remember any of that, but the car behind me was a nurse, and the next car from the other direction was a nurse. So there were 2 nurses immediately on scene. I kind of like to think that the angels were really watching today.
It was Christmas Day in 1993, and Shawna was 19 years old. She woke up that morning surrounded by family, ready to celebrate. It was a special day. After moving back home to get her life back on track, she was cherishing every moment with her parents and brother. They opened presents, shared laughs, and created memories. Later that day, her family left to visit relatives, while Shawna stayed behind to rest. She was heading to the airport that evening to catch a flight to Minnesota for a football game, her first ever, and she couldn't wait. But things didn't go as planned. After her nap, Shawna realised she was running late. She quickly packed her bag, jumped into her car, and began speeding down the highway. Back then, cars didn't have cell phones like today. Shawna had an old bag phone that sat on the floor of her car, plugged into the cigarette lighter. She thought about calling her friend to let them know she was on her way, but decided to wait until she passed the car in front of her. That decision would change everything. As she reached to grab the phone, Shawna looked up and realised she was about to hit the car ahead. Panicking, she swerved, and in an instant, everything spiralled out of control. Her car fishtailed, flipped end over end across the median, and crashed onto the other side of the highway. By the time she was found, Shawna was lying 40 feet away from her car, face down, turning blue. As fate would have it, the car behind her was driven by a nurse. And, unbelievably, the next car coming from the opposite direction was also a nurse. These 2 strangers worked together to keep Shawna alive until paramedics arrived. She was rushed to a hospital in her small Kansas town where an extraordinary stroke of luck awaited her. A trauma doctor who was only in town twice a month happened to be there that day. Shawna was stabilised just long enough to be airlifted to Kansas City. She spent the next month in a coma, her body battered and broken, 6 ribs shattered, a punctured lung, severe head injuries, and her jaw completely destroyed. Doctors told her family she would likely never live independently again. But Shawna's story doesn't end there. What Shawna remembers next wasn't the crash or the pain. It was something far beyond this world. The next thing she knew, she was no longer in her body. Instead, she opened her eyes and found herself in a room filled with the brightest white light she had ever seen. It wasn't blinding though, it was warm and peaceful, like being wrapped in a giant hug. In this glowing space, 6 tall figures stood around her. They looked sort of human but weren't. They were made entirely of light. Their presence felt kind and powerful, as if they knew her better than anyone ever could. They gently placed their glowing hands under her, lifting her up. That's when she realised something incredible. She wasn't in her body anymore. She was free. She didn't feel pain or fear, just an overwhelming sense of lightness and relief, like she was finally home. The light beings brought her to a circle where even more glowing figures waited. There were 12 of them, and Shawna calls them her council. These beings didn't speak with words, but communicated directly into her heart, and she could feel the love in every thought they shared. They showed her everything about her life, what she had done so far, the struggles she had faced, and the good she had brought into the world. It was like watching a movie of her life, but this time she understood how every little thing she did mattered, even the things she didn't think were important. They also showed her what would happen if she didn't go back. Her family, her friends, even people she hadn't met yet. Her absence would leave a hole in their lives. Her brother, for example, would struggle to trust and love fully. She hadn't realised how much of an impact she had on others until they showed her. It was like a ripple in a pond. One small action could change everything. Then they gave her a choice. She could stay in this beautiful, peaceful place, or she could go back to her body and finish her life's mission. At first, it didn't feel like a choice. She was so at peace she wanted to stay. But when they showed her how much her life still mattered and the love waiting for her on earth, she knew what she had to do. Before returning, Shawna had one last powerful moment. She saw her hospital room from above. Her mum was sitting by her bedside, holding her hand and praying. Shawna could feel her mother's pain, her fear of losing her daughter, and it broke Shawna's heart. She realised in that moment just how much her life meant, not just to her mum, but to everyone she loved. Her counsel explained that she had a purpose, to help people remember who they really are, beings of love and light, just like the ones she was surrounded by. Then they gave her a choice. She could stay in this beautiful, peaceful place, or she could go back to her body and finish her life's mission. At first, it didn't feel like a choice. She was so at peace. She wanted to stay. But when they showed her how much her life still mattered and the love waiting for her on earth, she knew what she had to do. Suddenly it was decided she would return. The warm, glowing light began to fade, and she felt herself being pulled back into her broken body. Waking up wasn't like in the movies where you open your eyes and everything's normal. It was slow and confusing. But Shawna carried something precious back with her. The knowledge that the love and peace she felt during her NDE wasn't only in the light, it was here on earth too. She could see it in her mother's eyes when she smiled, in the kindness of strangers, and in the energy that connects us all. It was like every person she looked at had a tiny piece of that glowing light inside them, even if they didn't know it. But when Shawna tried to share what she had seen and felt during her NDE, most people didn't understand. Their eyes would glaze over, as if it was too much to believe or imagine. She stopped talking about it for a long time, keeping the experience close to her heart. Still, it changed everything. Shawna knew her life couldn't just go back to how it was before. She felt a deep pull, a purpose. She realised she wasn't just here to exist. She was here to help others find that same light and love she had seen on the other side. Shawna became a massage therapist, but her work wasn't just about physical healing. As she worked with people, she started to sense more. Emotions they couldn't express, pain they carried, and even the presence of loved ones who had passed on. She used her gift to help people release not only the tension in their bodies, but the hurt in their hearts. Over time, she began teaching others how to connect with their own energy and recognize the love that's always around us, even in the hardest times. By sharing her story and helping others heal, Shawna showed people that no matter what they've been through, there's still light, hope, and a deeper purpose to life. These are my thoughts, and they may or may not resonate with you. But first, if you ever want to sit back and relax, then put my playlist full of wonderful, inspiring accounts into your Watch Later tab, or watch them now if you have time. I've narrated these stories in a way that's easy and calming for you to listen to. Let them take you on a journey, one that might open your heart and mind in ways you never expected. If you think I deserve it, I'd truly appreciate a thumbs up. Your support means so much. Now let's get back into it. Imagine waking up after such a life-changing experience and being told you might never walk again, never live on your own. For most people, that would feel like the end. But Shawna had experienced something extraordinary. She had felt the love, light, and connection on the other side. She knew that healing was possible, even if the doctors didn't believe it. And she did heal. Against all odds, she walked out of the hospital in just 4 weeks. What the doctors thought was impossible, she made happen. But her story isn't just about her recovery. It's about what she carried back with her, the realization that the love she felt during her near-death experience wasn't just over there. It's here too. It's in the people around us, in the connections we share, even in the moments we overlook. For me, stories like Shawna's are a reminder of what's possible, even in our darkest times. But what about you? Do you believe in miracles, in the power of healing? Have you ever felt a connection to something greater? Let me know in the comments. Your thoughts and experiences could inspire someone else.